So that's how you spell Szoboszlai. Oh, hello everybody, what a read this is, by the way. Adam Cleary from FourFourTwo here, and just like me in university, football clubs absolutely love leaving everything to the last possible minute. In fact, there's so much excitement at the end of the transfer window that Jim White managed to carve out a career as a beloved television broadcaster purely by virtue of being on shift when Man City signed Robinho. So with approximately I don't have a watch on left in the window, what big deals could we still possibly see? Let's look at all of them right now. Alright, we're going to start with a weird one that has literally only just broken as I sat down to record this, and that is Cole Palmer to Chelsea. So yeah, a bit of a weird one this. Fabrizio Romano, my friend and yours, reported that Chelsea have added Cole Palmer to their list of attacking signings. Now Chelsea are still definitely in the market for one more attacking signing. You'll remember they went after Michael Elise at Crystal Palace. That got rebuffed, and they wanted Brendan Johnson from Nottingham Forest, but didn't quite like the £40 million fee, and it looks like Palmer is now their biggest target. Now Man City's position on this remains a little bit unclear. You remember he starred in the Community Shield, looked like he'd gone and won the thing for him, and he was fantastic in the under-21 Euros, so this really does feel like a season where he needs to start getting proper game time. But Pep, when questioned about it, was like, I don't know. City traditionally don't really favour the loan market for players like this, so it did kind of look like he might be open to leaving, but couldn't really find the right club. Now, Chelsea would obviously be a great place for him to go and play his football. He does feel like he would fit into that Pochettino side really, really well, but it's whether or not Man City currently see Chelsea as a direct rival. If they do, it's unlikely they would allow that move to go through, but the early reports of this are that Palmer would be interested in that transfer, so one to watch in the last couple of hours. And speaking of Man City, probably the biggest Premier League transfer still on the table this summer is indeed Wolves' Matheus Nunes to Manchester City. Now this one isn't a question of whether or not City are interested. They definitely are. They have put in bids to Wolves and they have so far been rejected. The latest, a £51.5 million bid, was knocked back, and Nunes responded to this very professionally, very sensibly, by just going on strike and refusing to play. Gary O'Neill was obviously asked about this after their Carabao Cup game, and he said as far as he's concerned, the situation is very clear. They have a valuation for the player. If that's met, then he will be allowed to leave, and if it's not, then he won't. Now you would imagine City will be coming back in with another bid because there's obviously not long left, and they were desperate to add another sort of midfield option following the injury to Kevin De Bruyne. They went after Paqueta originally, and, well, we all know how that one ended up, so Nunes is definitely their top target. Guardiola's even said he thinks he's one of the best players in the world. Basically, one of two things is definitely going to happen here. Either Man City are going to get their man, or Nunes is going to have one of the most awkward training sessions you've ever seen come about Monday. Now, moving across to the other side of Manchester, there's a bit of a, how do I put this? Mad one. Injuries to both Luke Shaw and Malacia mean that we enter the last few days of the window probably needing to go out and get a left back. Certainly that's the noises coming out of the club. And while I think everybody expected them to follow their usual pattern of just looking at all the players that Erik ten Hag has managed previously and picking one off there, hello Tagliafico, instead they've just gone bananas and are going for Marc Cucurella. Now just put aside the fact that Brighton are probably wetting their pants at this, having just sold him for 65 million last year, now seeing him getting turfed out on loan is hilarious to them. Cucurella is still a really, really good player. And as a result of this, the main sticking point seems to be that Chelsea want a simply eye-watering loan fee, rumoured to be around the £7 million mark. And it's not even believed Man United have that kind of budget to play with, given how close they're pushing to their current FFP limit. But despite all that, the noises coming out of journalists covering both Man United and Chelsea are that this deal is actually quite likely to happen. There'll be some kind of compromise on the fee. There might even have to be an obligation to buy somewhere down the line, but it is believed the two clubs will come to an agreement. Now, obviously, what would make life a lot easier for Man United is if they could get any outgoings happening in the next 2 days, and that brings us very nicely to Harry Maguire going to West Ham United. Now, been a bit of a soap opera this one already. It looked for all the world like Maguire was going to go to West Ham. I think there was a fee agreed, and they had pretty much everything worked out, but then Maguire decided he didn't like that move and wasn't going to take it and wanted to fight fight for his place at Man United instead. Now that probably seemed like quite a good idea at the time, but in Man United's opening game against Wolves, Ten Hag hauled Martinez off because he was on a yellow card and he was in the danger zone, and brought on Victor Lindelof instead, despite that left-sided centre-back position very much being Maguire's. And then, following the injury to Luke Shaw, there was some talk that maybe they would go to a back three and that would give Maguire a way back into the side, but now of course they're going to spend quite a bit of money on Cucurella, so that's not even happening. So it's all well and good fighting for your place, but he might not even get the chance to do that. And as a result, with West Ham seemingly the only club who are interested in bringing him in, that looks to have reopened that situation, potentially as an initial loan, but also possibly he might just have given up on staying at Man United and will be open to the full transfer. Weirdly, if you're looking for an opinion on this one, I think despite the fact it is a little quiet at the minute, I think that's probably going to go through on deadline day. I just think Maguire's going to look at the situation and think, I want to stay here, but I'm never going to get a fair crack of the whip, so I might as well go and play football in what is an international tournament. Yeah, he does not want to lose his place in that England side. Now, while we're on the subject of Manchester United, one player they have been linked with, but almost certainly don't have the necessary funds to go out and get, now looks like he might be moving closer to a move to Liverpool, and that is Ryan Gravenberch. It is Gravenberch, is it? Not Gravenberch, it's Gravenberch, but it's like Gravenberch. I'm never quite sure on the end of that one. Gonna go with Gravenberch. Now, despite how well they controlled the midfield in the game against Newcastle, videos there if you want to have a watch of how they did that. In an 11 versus 11 game, they do still look a little bit fragile, and it's believed they want another midfielder in there just to steal things up a bit. Now, Bayern Munich absolutely do not want to let Gravenberch leave, but he is also not getting in that side. He stayed on the bench at the weekend, but it looked like he would have been the most logical player to bring on. So it's possible he's getting impatient with the development plan they have there, and Liverpool do see him as a first team player, so he may well be internally pushing for that move. Now, I personally think this one's unlikely both for Man United and for Liverpool at this late stage of the window, but might be one that gets picked up again in January. Now, just finally on Manchester United, it does seem like Dean Henderson may well complete a move to Crystal Palace, and the reason I say that it looks like that's going to happen is because I just went to quickly check to see if it happened or not, and it has. As I've been recording this, so you tick that one off. £15 million up front, and I think another £5 million in add-ons. That's good news for Man United, because if they weren't going to play him, they get a bit of money for him. That might enable them to go out and get a Cucurella on loan, or go out and get a Gravenberch. So that would you'd think something might happen for Man United in terms of incomings now. You'd think. Oh, and finally on Manchester United, they are being linked with Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg, which is a bit of a random out of left field one, but you could see how he could come in and do the kind of job they're looking for somebody to go and do. They're certainly looking at the profile of players they've been after in central midfield. I'm thinking Amrabat, which now looks like it's not going to happen, and Gravenberch, which may or may not happen. Højbjerg's in a similar mould, so that's another one we could potentially see. And speaking of Tottenham Hotspur, I'm really pleased with how nicely these segues are lining up. By the way, they look like they might still be in for Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, Chelsea were having a look at him. Initially liked him, but didn't think he was necessarily worth the 40 million. But Tottenham, they seem to think he is. The price, we are being told, has not changed. Forest still value him at around about the £40 million mark after he had such an impressive-ish debut season for them last year. The goals weren't exactly off the chart. It wasn't like he had to move to a bigger club, but he's definitely someone with a really specific skill set. And if you look at how Tottenham have been playing already this season, a lot of drive, a lot of directness, a lot of pace, a lot of just going at teams. Does feel like a really good fit there. Again, though, given how late this one is in the window and how Forest would almost certainly need to replace him if he did leave, that does kind of make you feel like it's more of a January thing than a summer thing, but they've got the Kane money, might as well spend it. Going abroad now, and there are two major transfers still on the cards for Spain's two biggest clubs, the first of which being João Felix to Barcelona. Bit of a weird one this, almost just sort of feels like Barcelona were like, oh yeah, we'll go out and get João Felix this summer, and have just completely forgotten to go and do it. Like, there's been all these reports linking him with Saudi Arabia and all these other clubs, and every single time the feedback is just, no, he's not interested because he's gonna go to Barcelona. But again, we get here at a hair past a freckle, and he still hasn't gone to Barcelona. Almost certainly he is going to move in the next 2 days, and you would imagine Barcelona, because they do want him, and apparently it was all sorted ages ago, is the most likely destination destination, there is also talk of 2 Premier League suitors for him. First off, and if you're a Liverpool fan, cover your ears now, if Mo Salah does end up going to Saudi Arabia, which I have to be completely honest, I don't think is going to happen in a million years, but you just never know, he's apparently the main name in the frame, say that 10 times fast, to replace him. And also, just because Aston Villa haven't done an absolutely mad transfer in a while and seemingly learned nothing from getting Philippe Coutinho, apparently Aston Villa are interested in him as well. You'd have to rate that particular idea pretty far down the list of options for João Felix. No disrespect to Aston Villa fans, because he wants to go to Barcelona, he loves the club and he's desperate to go there, and that's probably going to happen. But if that doesn't happen, he can then go to Saudi Arabia and make a bajillion gillion pounds. And if that doesn't happen, he could potentially go to Liverpool and replace Mo Salah. What a transfer that is for him. And then after all of that doesn't happen, none of that comes to pass, he can go to Aston Villa. Again, no disrespect to Aston Villa. That's an incredibly exciting club to be playing for right now. It's not Barcelona, and it's not Liverpool, and it's not more money than Scrooge McDuck. And finally, I've saved the most tedious until last, Kylian Mbappe to Real Madrid. Now, you're an intelligent person. You may well think, look, if this one was going to happen, then it would have already happened. It's one of those big summer transfers like the Kane one, and while they do drag out, they always tend to end before the end of the window because there's so much logistically going on. You can't leave them that late. So there's probably no way Mbappe's going to Madrid this late on, but nah. The reports coming out of Madrid all summer were that they were going to leave the Mbappe thing for now, see what happened with PSG, see if he did get his head turned by Saudi Arabia, and then go back in for him specifically in the last 48 hours of the window. The reason for this is obviously quite tactical, because if you have the entire summer to negotiate with PSG, they will make things an absolute nightmare. They will get every single euro out of Madrid they possibly can. But if you go in late and they've already made the decision of, oh, maybe we should move him on, he doesn't want to be here, and this is kind of it's a situation we could do without, then you kind of force their hand to just accept the first thing that comes in, because if they don't, it ain't going to happen. Now, of course, on the PSG side of this, he was out of the side and he was back into the side and they reintegrated him, and their start to the season was really bad, but he's back in now, so it does look like that has settled down. But they are attempting to build a very different PSG now without the sort of mega superstars like Messi and Neymar, and build a team from the ground up that the fans actually like and are just committed and dedicated and not just a bit of a circus freak show. And Mbappe, while he's certainly not Messi and not Neymar in terms of the circus that surrounds him, and he is still he's a young French lad and he probably does love playing at the club. If this one does happen, it would probably be one of the most exciting deadline day signings you have ever seen. If there are two clubs as just insanely run as Real Madrid and PSG, let's not rule it out. Right, there you have it then. That is every single major transfer currently on the table, unless, of course, you count Wilfred Ndidi going to Nottingham Forest, which you probably don't, and Isaac Hayden going to Luton, which you probably don't. And again, no disrespect to Forest or Luton, but we've all got stuff to do today. I can't sit here forever. Oh, and of course, while we are on the subject of transfers, another major institution looking to add to its books this summer is none other than FourFourTwo. Not the magazine, obviously, us right here on the YouTube channel. We are currently hiring for another presenter/producer. That's what I do. So if you've ever watched these videos and thought, I could do this, looks really easy, then the link is in the description below if you'd like to apply. And yes, before you ask the question, whoever gets this job, we will do a funny video of them holding the shirt, announcing them like a signing. So you'd have that to look forward to, if nothing else. As ever, we would love to hear from you. So whatever club it is you support, please let us know in the comments below who you think they need to add in the last few days of the window. Or if you're a club and you don't think you need to add anybody, just be smug about it. Tell us how good your shopping was. You get me on Twitter at Adam Cleary, Clery, FourFourTwo. The socials are always in the corner of the video. I don't know why I bother pointing them out. And until next time, happy transfer deadline day, everybody. Leave your little mince pie out for Jim White and wear your yellow tie, and I'll see you then. Bye.